Hey, welcome back. In our second episode, we're going to be speaking about the transport layer. So the transport layer is something just beneath the multiplayer framework, and it is used to carry message in a specific fashion to either a Linux build, a WebGL build, or something else. So the transport layer will target a specific platform, and we will decide what transport layer to use depending on which platform we're going to. So in the case of our server is going to be accepting multiple transport layers. So the server is going to be sitting there in the cloud, and he's going to have the possibility to receive messages from the WebGL transport layer through the WebSockets, but he's also going to be able to receive other messages from another transport layer, for example, a Windows standalone build. To showcase this, we can head over to the transport fishnet documentation, and on the transport section, we can find a bunch of transport over here. We have Tugboat, which is, as you can see, for Windows, macOS, iOS, Android, Linux, but it's not talking about WebGL here. Bayou is the WebGL one. Doesn't show here, but it's mainly used for simple web transport, as you can see. And then you have all other transport layer, which are used in different contexts, like Fishy Steamwork, which we might have to implement later on the line. Could be fun. But what we're going to be interested in this tutorial is to use the following two. So both Tugboat for the standalone builds and also Bayou for the WebGL build. We're going to do that through another transport layer which encapsulates these two, and it's called multipass. With multipass, we can define more than one transport layer on the server side. But when we launch this from a client side, either on WebGL or on a standalone build, we're only going to be choosing one layer to interact with. Because we don't need, if we're using a standalone build, we don't need to know exactly how a transport layer is made for WebGL. So we don't need any information on the WebSocket, for example. We just need to have what we're going to be using, basically. But the server needs both of them. That's why we use multipass. But enough talk. Let's go ahead and implement this. It might make a little bit more sense when we dive into Unity. So I'm going to ask you to open up Unity, and we're going to head over to our network manager. Now, the first thing we're going to do inside of Unity is we're going to head under our network manager. We're going to find the network HUD canvas, which is, what do we see over here when we're launching the screen? We have a canvas top left. We're going to go on the script running that, and we're going to change the automatic start type to disabled. This way, when we launch the game, we are the one that have to manually press on server and client. And you'll see why we do this in just a moment. We want to be able to control and not always just launch into a both server and client state. So with that being said, close this off, and we're going to go over to the network manager. Under the network manager, find the transport manager over here, and you'll find that the one it's currently using is called Tugboat, and Tugboat is roughly over there. So you can tell that it is a component that is on top of our network manager. We can drag and drop this right here. So we don't necessarily want to do this for the server because we said earlier that we want the server to either listen to Tugboat or listen to Bayou, which are two different transport layers. So in order to do this, we're actually going to go under the add component. I gotta hide my face here for just a bit. We're going to go down here and type in multipass, which should already be part of the system, should be part of your project already. So include multipass, then we're going to open up the transport layer, plus sign, find the Tugboat, drag and drop it here, and then we would need to do that with Bayou. However, if you search for Bayou, you're not going to find it just yet, because Bayou is a plugin on top of that. So to download this, I do have the link right here. I'll show you that in the description down below. We are going to go on GitHub/firstgeargame, which is basically Fishnet, /Bayou. First Gear Game basically is a person behind Fishnet. So if you go here /Bayou, that is the WebGL transport for fish networking. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this one. So we're gonna go under plugin. This is the folder we need here. So we need the plugin folder, and we need what's inside of it. So either you copy that through here, or you can actually download it through a Git clone. Now I'm going to do a download zip just to make things simple here. I'll go ahead and I'll save this to my desktop. Open it up. Extract. And I'm only interested in getting the plugin folder. So let's go two level deeper, here it is. Let's grab this and copy it over inside of our Unity asset folder. So I have it under my clipboard. I will head over to my project, under assets, paste my plugin. So now at this point, we should have a plugin folder showing up in Unity right here. And it contains Bayou. With that done, let's go back on Network Manager, find, well, not find, but add it, Bayou, here it is, and we can drag and drop this here. So not only do we have Tugboat, we also have Bayou, and we're going through multipass. Our last step here is to go under the Transport Manager and switch it from Tugboat to multipass. So this way, when we start up, it uses multipass. Multipass then decides whether or not we're using Tugboat or Bayou. But it is not as simple as that. Unfortunately, we have to do a little bit more configuration to let our project know which one to use. For the server side, it is as simple. Server is just going to instantiate both of them, and it's going to be listening for both of them. So if we hit server right here, you're going to see local server is starting for Tugboat, local server is starting for Bayou. Both of them, it's happening twice. I'm not 100% sure why, but yeah. And if we hit on client, it says client transport and multipass is being automatically set to Tugboat, which is what we want for this project. But as soon as we head over to WebGL, that's no longer the case here. So we want to make sure that Unity chooses the right one depending on our platform. And this is where our scripting journey begins. It's a very, very simple script right now, but we'll go ahead, we'll create it together. I'm going to start by creating a new script folder. I haven't done that before. So let's go ahead and just create a new script folder. In here, I'll create a new script that I'll just call startup. I will then open it up inside of Visual Studio, and we will write a couple of lines. We don't need anything big today. We just need something very, very small that we will leave inside of the start, actually. So I'll ensure we have a private void start, and we'll follow that by a multipass object. So multipass. You'll find out that we do not have this object because we're not including the library. So hit Control and dot, and you'll find that if we're using fishnet transport multipass, it's going to show up here at the top. So MP is going to be equal to a get component. I'll do a get component because we're on the same object as the network manager. We'll get the component multipass in this case. Or wait, are we on the same object? We're not just yet, but we will apply this on the same object. So make sure you declare your multipass object. The multipass class has a function called set client transport. So we can set that to either Bayou, like this, or to Tugboat. You're going to see that it's not showing up right now. So it's going to be very important that we include this at the top. So transporting for Bayou. We'll copy this line, do the same thing for Tugboat, and it's going to automatically go here at the top. So ensure that we have these three include statements. Now, obviously we cannot leave it as is because we're setting two different transport layers here. Makes no sense. But if we do a preprocessor operation here, if we are using Unity WebGL like this, and it's very important we put the end statement, we are not in the Unity editor, then we're going to go ahead and do Bayou. Else, we're just going to do the rest. So we can do the else statement here and do the end if. So the reason we're doing if Unity WebGL and not Unity editor is because you could technically be under Unity WebGL inside of Unity if you just switch your platform. So it's important to say that it's Unity WebGL and we are not inside the platform. Now this way when we compile this, it's either one or the other, and it's always going to be Bayou if we're in WebGL, and everything else is going to go through Tugboat. So one thing I want you to notice right here, this is now not showing up as highlighted. So ensure you're not deleting this line. If you are to delete this line and then you try to build WebGL, it's going to tell you that it can't because it doesn't have any reference to Bayou. So of course, leave that in here. Finally, we're going to take this script, put it on top of our network manager. We're going to say this is the startup script. And now when we start the game, it's going to either choose if we're on Bayou or on Tugboat. And of course, if I am to just press on server right here, it's going to say both because the server is listening for every kind of ship, and the transport is going to be a different kind of ship. If it's a WebGL, it might be a pack bow, and if it's a tugboat, then it might be an actual speedboat, right? So it's different type of ship coming from different type of platform, but the server is here and he listens for everybody. Good. So we're pretty much done with this one. Let's ensure that we have everything ready for the next episode. In order to move to the next episode, do we have both Tugboat and Bayou on top of our network manager? Do we also have the startup in here as well? Do we have multipass configured to include these two together? And also, are we ensuring that the transport manager is pointing to multipass? And lastly, if we are to start a game, are these things toggled off at the top left? And can we manually click on them to start the game? All right, now, as we do before we sign off, we're going to go ahead and push this code to the Git repository. So remember how we do this is by going inside the folder with our terminal. We can do it this way. So show in Explorer, bring this window. Let's go back one step, which is our Git root folder. Shift right click, find the bash command over here, and I can say git status just to see what changed. You can see that we added plugin, we added the script, and we modified the demo scene. Git add dot, which means basically add everything that we saw there during the git status. Git commit m, and then we open the bracket, the quotes, for the message. And I keep forgetting. Let me zoom in on that. This is episode 2, and here what we've done is added Bayou transport and a little bit more than that, so you can describe as much as you want. When we're done with this, we can simply do git push. We don't have to set the upstream because that has already been done, so we can just hit git push, and this is now sent over on Git. We can verify that by heading over here, refreshing the page, and we can see that episode 2 added Bayou transport is here, and we can see all the files that have been changed. If everything here is done, then I invite you to join me on the next episode. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you there. Cheers.